You probably think you know what brilliance looks like, but the truth is, real intelligence is often disguised as a set of social awkwardness and strange daily rituals. In a world that rewards loud voices and immediate answers, there's a quiet group of individuals whose minds operate on a completely different frequency. Your constant need to analyze every minor interaction, your preference for silence over small talk, and that restless curiosity that keeps you awake at 3 a.m. isn't a glitch in your personality. It's a symptom of a highly evolved cognitive system that is processing the world in high definition, while everyone else is watching in standard resolution. Psychology research suggests that intelligence is less about what you know and more about how your brain filters reality. In fact, cognitive psychologists often observe that people with extremely high IQs display subtle, almost invisible behavioral patterns that the average person might misinterpret as being antisocial, indecisive, or even strange. Today, we are moving past the stereotypes of the talkative genius or the obvious scholar. We are dissecting the 10 surprisingly common habits found in people with elite levels of intelligence. We will explore why your brain craves solitude, why you talk to yourself in empty rooms, and why your inability to turn off your thoughts is actually your greatest competitive advantage. The first and perhaps most misunderstood habit is the profound comfort found in solitude. Highly intelligent people are often labeled as loners or introverts, but psychology tells a different story. It isn't necessarily that they dislike people. It's that their brains are constantly engaged in a high-energy process of internal reflection. Solitude provides the necessary space for the prefrontal cortex, the CEO of the brain, to plan, reflect, and run complex mental simulations without the interference of external noise. A fascinating study from the London School of Economics discovered that highly intelligent individuals actually feel less satisfied with frequent social interaction than their peers. For a high IQ brain, every social interaction is a data processing task that requires energy. When that energy is spent on meaningless small talk, it creates a sense of cognitive drain. They don't choose to be alone because they are cold. They choose it because their internal world is simply more interesting and productive than the external one. The second habit is a state of chronic, unquenchable curiosity that never truly shuts down. For the average person, curiosity is a phase of childhood that eventually fades into the routine of adulthood. But for the highly intelligent, the world remains a giant, unsolved puzzle. They ask questions about almost everything, from the deep philosophical mechanics of existence to the mundane systems of a grocery store checkout line. Why do people behave this way? Why is this organization structured like this? Their brain is a pattern recognition machine that is constantly hunting for the underlying code of reality. This curiosity becomes a mental engine that prevents stagnation, ensuring that their cognitive flexibility stays sharp throughout their entire lives. The third habit is one that often makes people look twice in public: talking to yourself. While society might see self-directed speech as a sign of instability, psychologists see it as a high-level cognitive strategy. Narrating your own thoughts out loud helps the brain organize complex information and strengthens working memory. When you speak your thoughts, you are essentially creating a second loop of information processing, auditory and conceptual. This helps increase focus and allows the brain to catch errors in logic that might have been missed in the silence of the mind. If you find yourself quietly explaining a problem to an empty room, you aren't losing your mind. You're using an advanced tool to master it. The fourth habit is the rare and powerful comfort of saying, "I don't know." In the world of psychology, this is closely linked to the dunning-kruger effect, where people with lower cognitive ability consistently overestimate their own knowledge. The highly intelligent individual, however, is acutely aware of the vastness of human knowledge and the complexity of the universe. They understand that the more you know, the more you realize what you don't know. They treat their beliefs as flexible models rather than fixed identities. Being comfortable with ignorance is a sign of high intellectual humility and a prerequisite for real learning. They don't feel threatened by a lack of information. They see it as an opportunity for a new investigation. The fifth habit is the double-edged sword of overthinking the smallest things. An analytical brain is a machine with no off switch. The same cognitive processes that allow a person to solve massive logistical problems or understand complex physics are also applied to dinner choices, casual text messages, and minor life decisions. To an outside observer, this might look like indecision or paralyzing anxiety. But internally, the brain is exploring multiple mental models, calculating probabilities, and running what-if scenarios at lightning speed. It is a quest for optimization, a desire to find the most logical path, even in the smallest areas of life. The sixth habit is a sharp, often unconventional sense of humor. Intelligence research journals have shown a measurable correlation between high IQ and the ability to process complex humor. But humor is a high-level cognitive task because it requires the brain to recognize a pattern, anticipate an outcome, and then appreciate the break in that pattern. Creating wit requires linguistic flexibility, the ability to connect unrelated concepts, and a high degree of social awareness. But if you find yourself making connections that others miss or finding humor in the abstract and the dark, it's a sign that your brain is operating on a sophisticated level of lateral thinking. The seventh habit is the ability to change your mind when presented with new evidence. Most people cling to their beliefs because their identity is tied to being right. For a highly intelligent person, the pursuit of truth is more important than the preservation of ego. This is what psychologists call cognitive flexibility. When new data enters the system, the high IQ brain is capable of updating its mental software, even if it means admitting that a previous conclusion was wrong. They view opinions as hypotheses to be tested, not as fortresses to be defended. This fluidity allows them to adapt to changing environments far more effectively than those with rigid mindsets. The eighth habit is the phenomenon of the night owl. Research in evolutionary psychology suggests that individuals with higher cognitive scores often adapt more easily to non-traditional sleep patterns. Historically, the night was a time of danger and the unknown, and it took a certain level of cognitive flexibility to thrive in those hours. Many highly intelligent people report that their minds only truly wake up when the rest of the world goes to sleep. The silence of the night removes the social and sensory noise of the day, allowing for a deep, uninterrupted flow state. If you find that your best ideas come to life when the sun is down, you are participating in a long tradition of nocturnal thinkers. The ninth habit is observing far more than you speak. In social settings, the highly intelligent individual often plays the role of the silent witness. They are gathering information, analyzing the social dynamics, and decoding the emotional cues of everyone in the room. They don't feel the need to fill every silence with the sound of their own voice. Instead, they wait until they have processed enough data to provide a thoughtful, high-value response. This is why they are often described as quiet or reserved, but in reality, their silence is a sign of intense mental activity. They are looking for the patterns beneath the surface of the conversation. Finally, the 10th habit is a constant quiet search for meaning. A high intelligence brings with it a heightened awareness of the complexity of society, human behavior, and the universe itself. It is difficult for a person with a high IQ to just exist without questioning the why. This can lead to deep reflection about identity, purpose, and the strange, fascinating puzzle of human nature. It isn't always a dramatic philosophical crisis. Sometimes it's just a persistent question in the back of the mind. Why do we think the way we do? How can we make sense of this chaotic experience? This drive for meaning is what pushes humanity forward, leading to every great discovery and every masterwork of art. Perhaps that is the most interesting part of intelligence. It isn't just about solving equations or memorizing historical dates. At its core, intelligence is a form of courage, the courage to keep exploring, to keep questioning, and to keep looking for the truth even when it's uncomfortable. If you saw yourself in these habits, stop trying to fit into a world that was designed for a simpler frequency. Your brain is built for depth, for silence, and for the relentless pursuit of understanding. That isn't a burden, it is your greatest strength. If you found value in this deep dive into the mind, join our community of thinkers. Do subscribe to The Last Realists for more psychological insights that the mainstream chooses to ignore. Welcome to the fold. We'll see you in the next exploration.